All right, item number 7. Thank you, Ariel, by the way. Item number 7, the Southwest Florida Estuarine Restoration Team, or SWERT, update given by Kevin Kalasz of US FWS. The purpose of this is to update the committee on a summary of the most recent SWERT meeting and presentations, including partner priorities for restoration efforts, as well as other oyster and seagrass restoration projects currently underway. This relates to Fish, Wildlife and Habitat Restoration Action 1, to protect, monitor and restore beneficial submerged aquatic vegetation, including seagrasses, oysters, and coastal wetlands, to manage and enhance ecosystem services. Kevin, over to you.
Hey everybody, Kevin Kalasz with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Coastal Program for South Florida and Everglades. And I'm one of the kind of co-chairs of the SWERT group. We started SWERT back in 2018, I think. We've got probably a little bit over 100 people, members, that are on our listserv and receive our updates and work with us. The Estuarine restoration team for the Southwest is from Sarasota County down to Collier County, so it's a pretty wide area, and then really intended to bring together researchers, practitioners, agencies to be kind of a community of practice, to collaborate and coordinate on projects, and to identify those areas where we can be more effective working together to apply for funding, to implement projects, all those things. And it's one of, I think, 4 or 5 ERTs around Florida. We had our in-person meeting yesterday, so I'm fresh off of that. And it was, it was a really good meeting. We usually try to have our in-person meetings associated with some restoration projects so that we can learn from those that implemented the project or know about the project. And Dave Blewett and Damon Moore introduced us to a place called Robinson Preserve off of Manatee River. And, it's something I didn't know about, but as recently as 15 or 20 years ago, it was basically just a farm field. And now it's a beautiful 150 acres of wetlands around there.
That's the second phase,
Yeah.
A couple hundred in the first phase.
Yeah, so it's just an amazing transformational restoration that over the course of almost 20 years has come to fruition. And the work that they did and the monitoring that they did allowed us to understand some of the lessons learned about what elements they want to see and what worked and what didn't work. And so, we're able to take that and learn from those things. Some things that, unintended consequences of adding some elements that they thought were good, but actually produced some predatory fish and impacted some of the juvenile survival and things like that. We did that in the morning, and then the rest of the day we had presentations on mangrove restoration projects, seagrass restoration projects, and oyster restoration projects. So all that fits really well with CHNEP kind of efforts, even though it's outside of the watershed. But that's kind of the focus of where we're at right now with our group. It's kind of those areas. And then a really good presentation on a work group that's developing to study the co-restoration of seagrass and clams, which I think will be really informative going forward for a lot of people here. Because I think we understand that there's some association with those two, and how we can move forward with doing that kind of restoration work for those two targets would be really informative, and we could use that research and information. We had at the end a discussion of priorities for the group, and my intention was to like think about specific projects or specific areas that the group that we should focus on over the next year. And because we have a portfolio of probably 50 projects that have 2-pagers that came as a result of kind of organizing ourselves around specific funding opportunities for FEMA or for NOAA transformational grants. So we have a whole bunch of projects that, you know, are kind of like pretty well thought out and are ready to kind of, you know, be put forward as for funding. Through the course of the day, it became apparent that one, our funding landscape is quite a bit different right now. So that is a pretty big constraint and will continue to be a constraint. But the other thing that came up, and we focused our conversation around, was the kind of the constraint of getting the permits and getting these 2-pagers and getting project ideas to the point where they're shovel ready. And one of those things that's needed to be shovel ready is the permits. And they can be extensive and they can sometimes take years. And so we discussed those constraints and what, you know, from agencies like mine, Fish and Wildlife Service, we lost probably nearly 25% of our staff. Army Corps of Engineers, NOAA, we're all struggling with decreased capacity. Ultimately, that's going to result in, you know, slower turnaround times for permits and permitting projects. What we want to do is to collapse that. And so we decided that one of the things that we could do is establish a work group around permitting, so that with the target audience of the agencies, the regulatory agencies, so they can understand the types of projects that we want to put forward, and so that we can understand what they're doing and how, and the information that they need, so that we can, I guess, build maybe a document, of best management practice, best practices for applying for permits, so that the applicants and the regulators are kind of on the same page, and that we can get through the permitting process a little bit easier. So I'm going to be sending out a call for volunteers to the SWERT group and for that team, so that we can tackle this issue. And I hope to be able to use that to take that to our leadership in my agency and kind of build a top-down, bottom-up approach to kind of minimizing the effort and the time it takes to get permits, so that we can get some of these through quicker. One of the concerns is that a lot of the funding that we do get for projects, it's got a 2 or 3 year time frame, and by the time you get the permit, you're almost at the end of your operating, performance period, and so you need to get another extension, and that's more time and it's more effort. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to go as far as a priority for the next year, and hopefully it will be a benefit not only to to our SWERT team, but also to the broader audience in the Southwest Florida. And if you're not a member of SWERT, there's a website. Let us know. We'll put you on. And if you let me know if you want to be on this kind of regulatory permitting task force that we want to put together, and we'll see if we can't make some headway on this. There's a lot of people here that were in attendance, so feel free to add any details.
You can throw me on that list. I'll participate in that as somebody who goes through that permitting process for a lot of stuff. Like, it's taken us years to get permits for different projects, so I'll happily participate to give an applicant side of it.
That'd be awesome. Thanks.
All right. I'd like to maybe ask a question between Kevin and maybe Nicole. Can we maybe just expand on the relationship between SWERT and CHNEP, just to I guess clarify that for people in the room who may not quite get what the differences are and who's handling what.
Yeah, SWERT is non-decisional, non-regulatory, volunteer, kind of a loose organization of interested people that want to, researchers, and practitioners that just want to come together and learn from each other and collaborate on projects and share information. It's a little bit of, it's over a wider geographic area, and it's kind of specific to the estuarine environment. So
yeah, just to clarify, we do participate. Nicole attends the SWERT meetings, but to your point, it is a broader geographic area than our service area. So while we stay plugged in, obviously we are constrained to focus on projects that are within our overlapping area.
And obviously with the estuarine focus, with CHNEP, going right up into higher up into the watershed as well. So that's what's it, the old union circles. There's overlap, but I think there is certainly a lot of there is certainly overlap, and there are things that SWERT becomes the best forum to move some of these restoration forward using, but there'll be other things that perhaps don't go through that. So,
and our team uses the products coming out of the CHNEP all the time, and really part of the goal, or I don't know goal, but utility of the restoration team is that we kind of identify those overlapping priorities from all the different agencies and groups and researchers. So Fish and Wildlife Service may not have expertise in education and outreach or something like that that's needed for a particular grant funding opportunity. So then we can pull in, we have those contacts and can pull in, that expertise from our team, things like that. So I think we're all there to kind of help, support each other on those funding opportunities and projects and initiatives, and really try to learn from each other and increase our capacities, because we're all kind of at the bare minimum right now as far as what we can do, and the need is huge.
Yeah, no, I thank you guys for bringing the update here. I think that's exactly, we wanted to make sure that, the larger TAC and the NEPs, the participants in the NEP are tied into what's going on there, assuming not everybody can participate in every, focus group or working group. And so that's why the CHOG update that Ariel gave and the SWERT update too, we want to hear any feedback that you have, and we can bring that information back to those more focused working groups as well. But just making sure everybody's kind of tied to what's going on in the region, assuming everybody has limited capacity and time. But we want to be supporting those efforts, as they fall under the umbrella of what the NEP does too. And yeah, like Kevin said, there's plenty of work to be done. So whatever we can do to support everybody's working groups. But if there are things happening, within the region, and you think it would be, this is the forum to bring it back, so we can make sure that we're sharing it with one another, more is more, the information and the, projects and things like that. So yeah, thank you for bringing that update.
Yeah, Mindy's on the call too. She's one of our leads for the SWERT, and Jamie Willanen from FWC. I think she's on others. So yeah, if any questions or any you want to participate or anything like that, let us know.
Thanks, Kevin.